In the cold, shadow-covered lands of 15th century Wallachia, where forests stood like towering black walls and winter winds howled through the mountains like the cries of ancient ghosts, one name echoed with terror: Vlad III, the prince who would later be remembered as Vlad the Impaler. But before he became a legend soaked in blood and fear, he was simply a boy, a prince raised in captivity, hardened by betrayal, and destined for a throne bathed in danger. Vlad was not born into peace. Wallachia, the land he belonged to, sat between two giants. The Kingdom of Hungary to the north and the Ottoman Empire to the south. Two superpowers, always at war, always demanding loyalty. And Wallachia stood in the middle like a bridge, but also like prey. When Vlad was still a child, his father, Vlad the Dracula, made a desperate political move. He offered his two sons, Vlad the and Radu, as hostages to the Ottomans. The message was simple: if I betray you, kill my sons. It was a brutal bargain, but such was politics in medieval Europe. Vlad spent years in Ottoman captivity, watching the empire's military machine, its discipline, its cruelty, its power. But what changed him most was humiliation. Ottoman commanders mocked him, beat him, treated him as a pawn. And in their camps, Vlad learned something the world would never forget. Fear controls men more effectively than any sword. While his younger brother Radu adapted to Ottoman culture, even befriending Mehmed, the future Mehmed, the conqueror, Vlad grew colder, harder, sharper. He watched how fear bent men's knees, how terror made armies crumble, and how cruelty became a language more powerful than diplomacy. Years later, when Vlad finally returned to Wallachia to claim his throne, the land was in chaos. Local Boyar's noble families fought for power. Foreign kings meddled in Wallachian affairs, and the Ottoman Empire demanded tribute. Wallachia had no peace, no order, no unity. But it had Vlad. He ascended the throne not as a politician, but as a storm. His first act was shocking. The Boyars, who had betrayed his father. Vlad invited them to a grand feast. Tables were loaded with roasted meats, wine, golden plates, and music filled the hall. The Boyars laughed, unaware that they were dining in the calm before a storm. Halfway through the feast, Vlad stood up and raised his cup. "You betrayed my father," he said. "Now reap the harvest of your deeds." Soldiers stormed in. Some Boyars were executed on the spot. Others were marched miles away to labor camps, where they would work until death. And this was only the beginning. Vlad knew something important. Wallachia could not be ruled with kindness. It needed fear, so he forged fear into a weapon sharper than steel. When thieves plagued the villages, Vlad ordered a golden cup to be placed in a public square free for anyone to drink from, yet untouched for years. Why? Because the punishment for theft under Vlad was simple. Impalement. The impalement stakes became his signature. Long wooden poles sharpened at the end, driven through the human body in a way that ensured slow, agonizing death. Horrifying, yes. Effective, unquestionably. Crime vanished. Order returned. Traders felt safe. Villagers lived without fear of bandits for the first time in decades. But Vlad's real challenge lay to the south. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, now the conqueror of Constantinople, ruler of the most powerful empire in the world, demanded tribute. He expected Wallachia to bow and to pay. Vlad refused, not out of pride, but because he knew submission would destroy Wallachia's independence. Mehmed sent envoys demanding Vlad kneel before Ottoman authority. Vlad received them politely, then ordered the envoys' turbans nailed to their skulls, saying, "If you refuse to remove your hats before me, let me help you keep them on forever." The message traveled fast. Vlad does not bow to empires. War was now inevitable. Mehmed prepared an invasion force that dwarfed anything Wallachia had ever seen. Tens of thousands of troops, elite janissaries, siege engineers, cavalry, canonster. Same machine that conquered Constantinople. Wallachia was outnumbered, outmatched, outresourced, but not outwitted. Vlad turned the land itself into a nightmare. Forests were set on fire, wells poisoned, villages emptied, bridges destroyed. Every night, Wallachian struck silently at Dandran attacks. Surprise, ambushes, psychological tricks. Vlad's armies moved like shadows, killing silently, disappearing instantly. Then came the moment history never forgot. As the Ottoman army advanced deeper into Wallachia, they entered a valley, and what they saw froze even the bravest Janissaries, the elite warriors of the empire. Before them stretched a forest of impaled bodies, 20,000 corpses, soldiers, criminals, traitors, all arranged in rows that reached the horizon. The smell, the sight, the silence of it broke their spirit. Mehmed himself, the conqueror of cities, stared in disbelief. His commanders could not move. His soldiers trembled. The message was carved into the landscape. This is what awaits invaders. The Ottoman army withdrew. They had the numbers, but not the psychological strength to face a ruler who weaponized terror better than any general in Europe. Stories spread like wildfire. A prince who dined among impaled corpses. A ruler who could outsmart kings. A protector who terrified enemies into retreat. A monster or a hero, depending on who told the story. In the West, German pamphlets exaggerated his brutality, calling him a demon, a blood drinker, a creature of pure evil. These stories later inspired Bram Stoker's legendary vampire Dracula. In the East, many saw Vlad as a defender, a man who stopped Ottoman expansion and protected Christian Europe. But power never lasts forever. Vlad was eventually captured by the Hungarians, betrayed, imprisoned, and stripped of his throne. Years passed before he fought to reclaim it, and though he returned briefly as ruler, his enemies closed in. Vlad died in battle, surrounded by foes, still fighting like the warrior he had always been. His enemies beheaded him. His head was sent to the Sultan in Constantinople as proof, but even death did not silence him. Centuries later, the world still speaks his name with awe and fear. Because Vlad understood a truth most rulers never grasp. You cannot rule by love alone. You cannot win by strength alone. But with fear, strategic, calculated, weaponized fear, you can change the destiny of nations. And Vlad the Impaler did exactly that. His story is not one of monsters or vampires, but of a prince forged in captivity, hardened by betrayal, and remembered as the man who turned terror into the deadliest weapon of war.